We're here today, all of us together, to talk about success. And it's very important that we program in our minds some very important facts, such as, number one, success is a decision. See, over and over, society tries to tell us it's luck. It isn't luck. It's a decision. If you make the decision, I'm going to be a diamond, and I'm going to hang in there, and I'm going to do what it takes, you're going to be a diamond. Now, that's a decision. Kenny Rogers had a song out a while ago, a few years back, called The Gambler. And in that song, he talks about you got to learn to hold them, and you got to learn how to fold them. You got to learn when to hold them and when to fold them. And you know, that's something you got to learn if you're going to build this business. You got to learn who to hold and who to let fold. You know, periodically through the years, I remember when I first got in this business, I'd sponsor people, and some of them made it and some of them didn't. But you know, the people that you sponsored that didn't do well, when you were talking to another friend that knew those people, they'd always give those people as reference. And in my insecurity in the early days, it made me feel like a failure because everybody I sponsored did not make it. Because your friends will always use those ones that you sponsored that didn't make it as the example. If you're going to be successful, you got to learn to change your habits. See, there's three major things that control your life. Three major things control your life. Number one, your faith. If you don't have faith, you're not going to make it anywhere. Because people that succeed step out on their faith, don't they? Isn't that right? I always laugh because there's those people that say, well, I'm an atheist. What are you talking to me about faith for? I said, what are you living in America for? To walk around the streets, you should have machine guns over your shoulders if you don't have faith. Isn't that right? We do everything on faith. We do everything on some kind of faith. Well, you wouldn't work for 7 days and then get a check if you didn't have faith. Isn't that right? See, I'm a Christian, and that's very important to me. But you don't have to be a Christian to have faith. You can have faith in your kids, you can have faith in your mate, you can have faith in your country, you can have faith in the company you work for, and you have all kinds of different faiths, can't you? But the more faith that you have, the less fear that you have. The more faith you have, the more you drive fear out. And some people may think you're so faithful that you're naive. And it's better to be naive than know so much that you do nothing. Some people have all the answers for everything and no performance. Now, three major things. Your faith, number one. The way you think, number two. If you think the worst things in the world happen to you, then you make sure they do. If you look and you say, well, we got that out of the way, the major things that happen, it's not what happens, it's how you handle them. So how you think controls you. Number three thing that controls you is your habits. The guy that has to be to bed by 10 o'clock at night is not going to be the guy that builds this business unless he changes his habit. The guy that can't learn to manage his money, he has to have everything today. how much down and how much a month is the way he lives, is not a guy that's ever going to be wealthy. Because he's always going to be giving, no matter how much money he makes, the lion's share of his income will go to some bank for interest. Okay? So those are three major things you got to realize. Your faith, the way you think, and your habits control your life. Just for an example, if I hire a person, a brand new employee, to work for me in whatever job he's doing, the pay he makes has no bearing. It's like you. Wherever you're working, whatever you're making, you got to learn to create the habit to give your employer all you got. Okay? Because it's pretty hard to be a bum all day for 8 hours a day on the boss, and then go out and change this personality and change this attitude and change this drive to be an entirely different person in the evening. Okay? Now, if you're working for me for 10 years, it's not important what I pay you as long as you can survive. What's important is the habits that you develop. Because if you develop bad work habits, when you leave me, you're not a good prospect for another company for a better job. But if you develop great work habits, you try to get 12 hours work done in 8 hours, I'm going to have to raise you to keep you. Because everybody that I have as a friend of mine walking around, they see you and they'll say, how much you pay them? Is that all? They'll try to get them. Everybody will try to grab my employees if they've got good work habits. You understand that? Now, that same person that develops good work habits 8 hours a day, now they've learned to manage time. When they get out of work, guess what? They got good habits for the next 4 to 6 hours, whatever they're going to spend building the business or building their personal life or every other aspect of their life. You mess up on the boss, you'll mess up on yourself. So people should always be doing everything they can do 100%. 100%. You know, it's easier to prospect people where you used to work when you left with a good reputation as being a very valuable person to have lost than it is to have been the goof off. My mom and dad kept their nose out of our business. They were our friends. They visited us. We visited them. But they never butted in because they remembered how firm they were with us. My mom poured love all over us, and my dad insisted on discipline. I knew if I was ever going to earn my dad's respect, I better perform. You understand that? And when I sponsor people in the business, I let them know I love you. Boy, I'd like to have you go to Hawaii with us. We're going to go over there in February. We're going to have a great time. You got to be a diamond to go, though. We'd love to have you come, but you got to perform. I let people know how much I love them from early on, and we live a very exciting life. But you got to perform to live the life with us. Okay? Want to go a lot of places with you, but you got to perform. It's very important to understand. It's like people that they want to know, well, how do you break a direct in 90 days? Number one, you got to find a guy that's committed to do whatever it takes. That number two, has built a reputation in the past of respect, where people will listen to him, believe in him, and follow him. Now, most people don't have that. 99% of the people in America have not built that. So consequently, they have to go and mold their life over and develop new habits, develop faith, develop relationships, and learn people skills. So they got to go through college. And they get their education by reading books, listening to tapes, coming to seminars and rallies, and developing their skills and practicing. You know, every doctor, dentist, and lawyer goes into practice. When you get an Amway, now you're a professional. You're going into practice. But you got an ongoing schooling program of the finest kind. See, I quit school at high school because my dad said, if you're going to live in this house, you got to graduate. So he put the requirement there. Now when I got a scholarship to Yale, I said, I don't want to go to Yale. Now how did I get the scholarship? Real simple. I skipped school a lot, but I could always go in and get an honor mark on an exam, which brought my grades up to passing, because I never did homework. I never took the books home. I could do work at home. I was working. I didn't want to do homework anyways. It bored me. But the teachers kept telling me, you got to get an education, get a good job. And most people tell you got to get an education, get a good job, right? You know, I didn't want a good job. I wanted a business of my own. I didn't see any job in Rome, New York that was motivating to me. I didn't see any teacher that had anything I wanted. I was a logical person as a young kid. Now, if I had some millionaire teacher in there that had made his or her own million, I would have gone like, yeah, what next? What are you teaching? Where? Ooh. Okay? But most of them aren't there. Now, I don't put the educational group down because I'm an educator. Okay? Whenever you're teaching this business, you're teaching something that you've lived. You're teaching other people how to perform at the performance level you have. And you have to reach back into your past to figure what made you go. Okay? One thing I did with my kids, I looked and I said, my kids are not going to be the best dressed kids in school. I remember my aunt, one of my aunts, her husband was a school teacher, and she wanted her kids to be the best dressed kids in school, so they were the best dressed kids in school, even though they were one of the poorest kids. They had 6 kids. They bought an old farm. They lived out in the country. He did electrical work on the side. He taught shop. He taught driving. He taught anything he could teach. He'd do all kinds of jobs on the side to have his kids be the best dressed kids in school. I had another buddy of mine, a kid named Irvin. Now, Irvin went to school with me. His mom went to work while he was in school to have her 3 boys be the best dressed boys in school. Of all the ones that I've found are the best dressed kids in school, I don't recall any of them being real successful. You know why? It's part of being in school and not being the best dressed kid that people are looking down at you, that make you say, I'll show them. If everybody's done the showing for you so you don't have to prove yourself at all, your odds of being somebody go down. So when you get slapped around enough because people don't respect you, you decide to say, I'll show them. For many of you, you're going to go out and start showing this plan. And some people are going to give you some rough rejection. Now you have a choice right then and there to decide whether they're going to make you quit or you're going to show them. Whether you're right or they're wrong. Every time I'd show the plan and somebody'd laugh at me, I'd go out of that house more committed than ever to build the business. I'd say, they're going to eat them words. You're going to eat them words! But I never said it to them. I was nice. Because I always thought someday they may wake up. After all, I want to be able to sponsor them if they wake up later. Okay? But for you guys that are out there drawing the circles, you got to learn to fill yourself with positive. You need to get up in the morning. You need to be shaving, and you need to be going like, I am the man with the plan. I am the man. I am the man. You need to be going to the meeting going, I'm the man. Build your belief up. Drive the negative that others put in you out. And gals, you need to be telling them, you're my man. You're the man with the plan. I believe you can. I believe you can. I believe you can, because you're the man with the plan. See, you need to tell them, Dad's the man with the plan. Well, Bertie wouldn't tell me that. My kids weren't telling me that. It would have helped. But I wasn't even mature enough to tell her that. It's why you all can succeed so much more than we have. Because we were immature when we came into business. We were young, driven, with much to learn, and we've learned so much through the business. I was a driven, shy guy. Okay? I was given many opportunities in life because so many people in town recognized I had a lot of ambition. But I wasn't ready to take on the responsibility they were willing to give me. I look back and I realized I was a long-termer. I realized you had to work a long time to get something. So I thought, well, someday I'll own the Ford dealer when I worked at the Ford garage. And when I was about 19, the owner of the Ford garage asked me if I wanted, he told me he'd like to promote me to be sales manager. And I looked around and I realized everybody that would work for me was my dad's age. And I had too much respect for age and seniority at that time. So, I couldn't be sales manager. Suppose I share it with Pat. Pat was a guy my dad's age. And I shared it with Pat. We made that, we were assistant sales managers. Except Pat took the boss's desk. Because I let him. I wanted that job when I got older. I wasn't ready for it. I mean, like, I don't think I'm qualified. Well, he only picked me because I was a salesman that sold more cars on a regular basis than any other salesman there, and I was willing to work 8 hours a day, 10, 12, 15, 18, whatever it took. When I sold cars, I learned how you deal with rejection and no-shows. How many of you got any car selling experience? Tell you, with car selling experience, you set up an appointment for Wednesday night. Tuesday night's your day on the floor. You work all day on that floor. Wednesday you got off, and Thursday you got off, and maybe you're on Friday morning. But part of your time is showroom time, and part of it's go out and get them time. And you schedule your own time and manage your own time. Many times on Tuesday I'd set up a presentation for Wednesday, and one for Thursday with another guy, and one for Friday with another guy. Night after night, you sit there with no show. Set up your whole evening for this guy that's coming in to buy a car that never shows up. Car salesman, is that right? But you learn that a lot of people lie. A lot of people don't realize you're going in. And after a while, you learn to say, Thursday is my night off. I'll be glad to meet you here at 7 o'clock. See, when you don't tell them you're going out of your way for them, they assume it don't make any difference. So you have to instruct people. Live on the theme KISS. Keep it simple or I'm stupid. Explain to them why they can and why they can't. When somebody challenges you in this business and they try to steal your dream, you got to go fight for it. You got to go for it. You got to make up your mind. You're going to make it happen. Today's the first day of the rest of your life. You got to program your own mind to put together some messages that you give yourself regularly to beat out the negative that keeps saying, who do you think you are? You can't make it. You ain't got what it takes. I may not have what it takes today, but I'm going to go gather them. And I will build a group. I will lead that group one step at a time. I will love that group. I will teach that group to believe in themselves. I'm going to become the mommy and the daddy of a group, and I'm going to teach them strength. I'm going to teach them belief. Everything that I've had to go through, I'm going to teach them the positive side of it. And we're going to become winners. We're going to win the fights of life. Our financial pictures are going to be changed. Today, Bertie and I, it's like I remember back, I'd go show the plan to somebody in an apartment, and the guy'd say, I got a good job, I got this, I got that. And you learn after a while, a lot of people that live in apartments, some people it's temporary, but some people it's permanent. I got a whole group of people, anytime I'd want to sponsor them, I could. We own 4 apartment complexes in Charlotte. Can you imagine going in there and saying, have them tell you what status they got in there? Too good to be in the business because they got this and that. And you say, well, why do you live in this apartment? Well, it's the finest apartment complex in Charlotte. Oh, I know that. How do you know that? Because I own it. Because I own it. See, little things along the line, when you have enough people tell you they're in real estate's better than Amway, well, you own a whole lot of what they like to sell. They can't afford to own it, but you own it. We got one of our complexes, my biggest complex is 282 apartments. I own it. Okay? I own it. That's freedom. Okay, we own a construction company. I own 30 different corporations. My number one thing is Amway. These other things are hobbies. My hobbies are normally more profitable than other people's businesses. Because I got tired for year after year of people telling me they had something better than Amway. I'm going to tell you something, brother. If I wanted to take any one of my kids today, put $5 million behind them to start them in any business, I can afford it. But I'm going to tell you the other thing. I'm not going to give any one of my 7 kids $5 million to start off with, because the very best thing I can give them is a $100 kit. Nothing compares with a $100 kit. Nothing compares with the kit. Bertie and I have built, from a little house on the alley in Rome, New York, the single largest distributorship in this total Amway business. The most profitable Amway distributorship in this total business. Then periodically I'll get on a plane and I'll talk to somebody and somebody will say, what do you do for a living? And I always love it. I tell them I write books, I own a construction company, I'm involved in real estate, I'm a motivational speaker, I can tell them a whole bunch of other things, you know. But then I'll say I'm an Amway distributor. You know, one guy turned to me and said, I respected you till you said that. And I turned back and said, you know, same thing goes for you. I respected you till you said that. I remember one day as a guy on a plane said to me, well, you got in when it was right. I said, let me ask you, sir, what do you do for a living? And he explained to me. I said, well, you know, I'm not a very stupid person. I would never be stupid enough to argue with you about your profession, because you know so much more about it. I'm just a novice and would look foolish to argue with you. Well, I'm the best in my profession. And anybody that argues with me is just as foolish. Now, I'm telling you, today is the best time to ever get in this business that there's ever been. It's the ground floor. It's wide open. Things exist today that didn't exist. When I got into business, I had a book to read called the Gold Book and the White Book. The White Book told about products. The Gold Book told about the plan. I had to figure out how to draw my own plan. I had to go do it all on my own. I had to start my own business. I had to set up seminars and rallies. When I listened to some tapes and read some books, I realized they were important, and I learned to share them with my group, and I had to teach people the importance because I needed it. I figured they needed it. What I needed, I tried to teach them to have. And I kept teaching them and teaching them and teaching them. As I learned, I taught. And we built the largest business, and we built more diamonds than anybody in the business. And today, Amway is ground floor. We haven't scratched the scratch of the surface of the potential of this business. Anybody that tells you any different has no knowledge. They have no experience. If they have no experience, they have no knowledge. It's all theory. We have the knowledge because we have the experience. We haven't seen the big money in this business yet. I'm telling you to come join our world, and they're going to tell you to come join their world. And you got to decide which world you'd rather be in. Would you like a selection of cars like that out there? Would you like, when you build your dream home, to have a grandkid's bedroom only? Huh? Would you like to have a room in your house that's big enough, if one of your kids got married, to have the wedding ceremony and reception there? How'd you like to have a 4,500 square foot guest house? How'd you like to be on the water where people spend $200,000 for a third of an acre, and you got 6 acres? Huh? The selection of boats, the second home. I own 12 homes on the lake, about 50 homes altogether. We were a couple of poor kids on the alley in Rome with a dream. We saw the plan. We said, we're going for it. We got our kicks in the teeth, and we got laughed at, and we got ridiculed. But you know, I can look at my cufflinks, or I can open my coat, and there's one of my presidential tie pins. I've had gifts like these were given to me by Reagan. This one happened to be given to me by Reagan. The one I had on this afternoon was given me by George Bush. Okay? Where a guy on the alley in Rome can get all the things he wants for the girl he loves. What's the name of the game? Success is a decision, right? What's the name of the game? That's something that we can't say over and over enough. See, what we've got to do in our life, if we're going to be highly successful, is we've got to learn to reprogram our mind. Because as we grow up, and I talk from personal experience only, that's the best example that I can constantly give, is something from personal experience. You know, Bertie and I started in the business, we were just young kids. Just as young kids, we didn't know a lot. We were naive like a lot of people. I had a lot of dreams and a lot of goals. And you got to know you best. The first thing you got to learn to do is know you. Because until you know you, nothing else really matters. You got to know what makes you click and what makes you turn on and what's very, very important to you. It's not what turns me on, it's what turns you on, right? So you got to learn you best. And as a team, you got to learn each other real well. Okay? And so you've got to learn how to get strong if you want success. Because see, in reality, most people don't have success. And they're going to try to tell you how to get it. They don't know how to get it themselves, otherwise they'd have it. From day one, when you start in life, somebody's always trying to influence you in areas they have not achieved. Okay? I always laugh now. Now I have a different sense of humor maybe than everybody else. So you got to sort of live with that aspect. You got to get to know me a little bit while you're getting to know you if you're going to listen to me. But I get a kick out of it because how many of us lost some of our self-image when we were kids in school? And the teachers were trying very hard to be great teachers. But they were taught how to teach, not how to build friendships and relationships. And I think the biggest thing if you're going to build a big business, you've got to learn to be a great dater. Okay? You've got to learn to fall in love with the people that you want to help. And see beyond their weaknesses. You got to see beyond their weaknesses. God, everybody's told them all their life their weaknesses. Somebody's got to tell them where they're good. Got to tell them where their strengths are. Okay? And that's the hardest thing for people to really get in their head. Because, see, so many people in life have a poor self-image because the world has given them a poor self-image. That what do? We attack people instead of lift people up. Now, along the line with that aspect, you got to learn to have a little fun. You got to learn to laugh at yourself if you want to help others. Okay? Now, that's very, very, very important. So many people don't understand that aspect. That's why you see most achievers, as they succeed, they learn to support other achievers. Because you know what is an achiever? It's a person just like you that decided to do something with their life. And they made something happen, and they became a super achiever, and then the world expects them to be perfect. When I got into business, November 1st, 1964, that started happening to me right off from day one. And I had to make a decision. Either they're right or I'm right. And that's a decision you have to make. Either you're right or they're right. And when you make the decision, you made the right decision, and we're running with this thing. Then when you walk out, for everyone that laughs at you, you've got to be sweet and nice to them. But when you get in the car, by yourself, you can say, I'm glad God didn't give me that brain. I want to smoke them. Eat your heart out, baby, because I'm going to make you sad. You laugh tonight. But you know the sad part about it? You see them 20 years later. I always knew you'd make it. That's what they'll tell you. I always knew you'd make it. So many of them will never remember the way they hurt you when they hurt you. So if you're going to be successful, you got to learn to get tough-skinned. And you got to learn to think, they just don't understand business. And you know what? Chances are you don't understand it that well yet. But your education's going to come from this business. If you're going to be successful, you've got to keep your eye on the goal. You got to keep your eye on your dream. Okay? And you've got to learn not to fall for the people that look good, smell good, but are broke. Not to fall for their, quote, knowledge. Because you got to build the logic. We got a product business that everybody needs our kind of product. Somebody says, why do you buy SA8? Puts braces on the kids' teeth. Sends the kids to college if you want them to go. It buys the cars, buys the homes, buys the meals. For us that are in the business, right? That's number one reason why you buy it. Number two, you buy it because it's the best cleaning product out there. You know, when you know success is a decision, not an accident, then you make it happen. Don't you ever believe anybody that tells you it's an accident. Well, it's luck. He's lucky. He's lucky. Luck is the biggest put down that you can give a winner. That's a lousy statement. It's a loser's excuse for not performing. Okay? I have shown this business to thousands of people through the plan, whether they were personal or depth or big open opportunity meetings, thousands of people. And a few decided to get in and stay in and hang in there until it happened. See, you got to give yourself time to succeed, folks. You got to develop a lot of new habits. You know, you go to college for 2 years for some things, 4 years for another. If you're going to be a doctor, dentist, lawyer, something like that, you might go 8 years. You advance yourself. Well, this is the greatest college that exists because it's a college where you earn while you learn. You do it part-time, night classes. But you get the greatest degree available. You become psychologists. You become very logical. You develop unbelievable wisdom. And you learn to direct your life very well. Bertie and I, inch by inch, step by step, started our business in Rome, New York. We made direct in 60 days, and for 3 years we remained direct. Then we learned the real importance of the dream and working on building a dream and looking at what we wanted and flushing all the other junk out, all the negative, and just going for the dream. And every night I went and looked at our dreams, a Cadillac garage when I couldn't afford a Cadillac, a dream home. And I'd sit in front of this guy's home about 5 minutes every night after midnight. And just think someday we're going to live there. Picture of Bertie and I walking in and out of the doors. Well, never got that house. Never got that house. When we moved off the alley, we moved into Charlotte, North Carolina. Got sick and tired of shoveling snow. You don't got to shovel sunshine. So we moved to Charlotte, North Carolina, the summer of '69. I love to come back up here every now and then to find what cold is all about. See the snow and the ice and know why I left. Okay? That's fun. When you sit down and you make your list, try to take the personalities you know and figure why they build the business. But give everybody the opportunity, because a lot of hidden talent stays there. Don't prejudge everybody. I've learned expect the best. I believe every guy's got a sleeping giant inside of him, and we've got to develop that giant. You can't pick who's the tough guy, whether it's physically or mentally or commitment or driven. Girls, if this is your husband's dream, back him 1,000%. Support each other. Be team players. Bertie did a lot of things she didn't want to do because I told her she had to. That she had to learn to work with people. That she had to do these things, or she had to go get a job, and I didn't want her working. And I taught her little things like, if somebody's real bad, you hate to see him come, write $100,000 in your mind on a paper bag and put the paper bag over your head. So every time you look at him, you look, $100,000, that's what they're worth. Hey, good to see you. Hey, God, I'm glad to see you. Okay? If you've got a bad picture of any of your distributors, change it to a good picture. Decide to put a happy face on them when they come. Okay? Whether I'm raising kids or raising my wife or raising myself or raising my distributors, we've all got a lot to learn and we've all got a lot to teach each other. And all these pieces of the puzzle will fit in. If I've said anything that bothered you or you didn't understand, don't worry about it. If I've said or John said or anybody else has said this weekend, put a piece of your puzzle together. Go home with a piece of the puzzle. Eventually you'll figure out where the other pieces fit in your life. We're dealing with people from all different levels in this business and all different places. Some of you are out showing the plan. If you're not, buy a board and an easel and learn the plan. Learn to do it. Don't go out and try to be a go-getter. That's part-time business. Go-getter should be automatic. I made a commitment early in the business when I decided I had to make this thing work, that I was going to show the plan 6 or 7 nights a week. And I would not go to bed till I showed the plan. And after setting that goal, I made that promise to myself. When I do something like that, I'm very careful who I make promises to, because if I don't live up to a promise, I feel like I've lied and I've sinned and I've cheated and I'm a terrible person. So if Bertie would ever ask me about anything, I would never promise her anything unless I could do it that day. That's why if Bertie looked at a coat and rather than promise her, I'd say she wants it, I'd just figure out a way to get the money. She's got it. I'm real tough to live with, but real rewarding. Okay? Bertie has never wanted anything for long. Once I found out about it, she got it. She's lost more diamond rings than most girls could ever dream of. I mean, she's lost 3-4 cluster rings. She lost a 4 carat. She don't know what happened. I get mad about it for a while. Don't say nothing. Hey, it's gone. Maybe discipline her a while before I buy the next one. But my little old China doll's got to have the best, and she's my sweetheart. And I can overlook that because I know her heart's right, and she's committed to me. 95% of people in this world today deal with a poor self-image, and it's only through production, throughout producing and accomplishing things that you rid yourself of a poor self-image. It's only through accomplishment that you get rid of a poor self-image. When I got in this business, I thought I understood business. I understood the circles. And I thought, I guess I was a little socialistic myself. I thought, God, everybody's going to want it. They're all going to jump at it. They're all going to get in. And I went and showed it to all my friends and relatives. I never counted the ones that didn't get in. But I remember of all the ones that didn't get in, John Zulu was the only one that told me he wished me the best, he hoped it worked out, but it was not for him. Okay? It's very important. In other words, he showed me proper respect when I was out pouring my heart out. And that's something that's very important. People demand respect back, but they don't show it. Well, the one that doesn't show you proper respect is not quite as smart as you. So don't drop your level to their level. Always be smart enough to keep the door open. Okay? Now along the line, see, we all have all these friends out there. We think that, God, they are great. If they just got a great opportunity, they would really make something happen. The poor people, they've never had the right breaks. And then you go show them the plan. It's not my cup of tea. It's not my thing. Why would I do that? Well, what do you do? Why are you doing what you're doing now? For a livelihood. Then you hear the stupid things. Money's not that important to me. I love that statement. That guy goes to work every day at a job he hates and says money's not that important. I mean, now, what you want to do is listen to their stupidity and then go out and feel sorry for them. See, you'll find the hardest people to sponsor are normally the brokest. Okay? The ones that need it the most are too good for it. So what you're doing is you're looking for needles in haystacks. But those needles pay real well. Okay? They pay real well. If you can find 20 good needles in a haystack in your lifetime, you could hire all the other ones that laughed at you for whatever you want. Now, we sponsored, the first key in the business was I was driven. All my life I was looking for my own business. I was looking for an opportunity, a chance. And when I saw this plan, I said, that's it. I got my kit. I went out. Nobody was there to show me how to do the plan. I said, what do I do next? The guy sponsored me. He said, go have a meeting. So I went and had a meeting. I went and showed the plan the best I could. Every night. One after another, after another, after another. And I made my list of great prospects. My number one first guy on the list, number one, first guy I was going to show the plan to, said no. Can you imagine the first guy you showed the plan to said no? He says, I wish you the best. I hope it works for you. Okay? He was on the stage a little earlier. I knew that John Zulu was one of the best prospects I ever had. But I did not wait for John. I went and proved the business worked with or without John. Very important. So many people come, oh, if I could get this guy, it would make all the difference in the world. Yeah, but if you don't get him, don't let it stop you. Okay? It's very funny, because in the first month in the business, I sponsored a guy from Rome named Pete. Pete worked at Victory Chain, which was one of the stores that I called on when I was working at the brewery. And I developed this relationship with Pete. He recognized me when I started calling there from school. I didn't recognize him. I didn't remember him from school. Turned out he graduated in my class with me. And I knew most of the kids in the class. But Pete just never made a big impression to me in school. But I sponsored him in the business. Put him on my list, sponsored him in the business. Within a month after I'd sponsored him, Pete quit. But before he quit, Pete, who was working at a grocery store named Victory Chain, sponsored a guy named Ted Burke. Ted Burke was a tobacco salesman, chewing tobaccos and stuff like that. And he called on Pete, and Pete sponsored him. And I remembered Ted from school. Ted lasted about 2 weeks. But before either one of them quit, they sponsored a guy named Jim Ackerman. Jim Ackerman stuck in there till he was $2,500. And then his contest, Leggett Meyer, his company that he worked for, Leggett Myers, had a big contest where he could win a new Mustang, and he committed all he had to that company for 90 days to win that contest. He got number 2 position, but meanwhile he got uninterested in Amway. Interesting, because just a few weeks ago I was doing an attitude session, and here's Jim Ackerman sitting on the front row. Okay? He's now personally sponsored a new Silver. Okay? Next to him is Pete. 28 years later. Do you want to waste 28 years? At least these guys that lost all those years have made a decision not to lose anymore. What was funny, when I sponsored Pete, I lived like here, second house in on an alley. I found out, I turned around the corner, and Pete lived right over here. He lived half a block from me. Lived half a block from me in a little town, Rome, New York, and I didn't know he lived there. I saw him at the store in Utica, 20 miles away, every time I called on that store. So there's a needle in the haystack. Now, eventually, that organization led me to a direct without those three guys involved. 18 in depth, I found a pilot that went direct. Okay? I just kept working with people until I found somebody that wanted it as bad as I did. That's something that's very, very important in life. I laugh along the line because as you study life, you get out there and people say, well, so-and-so wasn't interested, this wasn't interested, that one wasn't interested. We're not all interested in the same things. Just because somebody doesn't want this doesn't mean that you shouldn't. For every guy or gal that's out there that you think is really the one, somebody else has rejected them, whether it's in Amway or as a mate. I built my business with my knowledge from dating. My expertise when I was a young kid was dating. I liked girls. Like most of the kids like girls. The only difference is I decided to win with the girls, while a lot of guys stood around and wished. How many times did you go to a school dance, gals, and wish some guy would ask you and he never did? And how many of you guys went to a school dance and stood there and thought, oh, I wish I could dance with her, but she'd say no. So you never asked. See, most great achievers in life, part of what they're doing is proving they're somebody because the rest of the world throughout their whole life has told them they're nobody. And you get sick and tired of somebody out there criticizing you. Someday you got to rise and shine. See, we hear all the circumstances of all these groups we got to help. Your minorities, this, that, your women, you're over and over. We ain't got to help them. That makes you weak. What makes you strong is helping yourself. You got to learn to stand on your own 2 feet and perform. That makes all the difference in the world. People will put you down as long as you allow them. See, a heavy percentage of people in life have a bully attitude. In school, people start bullying people. Okay? I always laugh when they talk about we got to get rid of this or get rid of that in the workplace. You ain't going to get rid of it. The bullies are still around. The guy that was bullying other guys in school when he was 5 years old or 8 years old still bullied them as long as he could. You know what happened a lot of times? The school bullies pushed everybody as much as they could until somebody stood up to them. Till somebody stood up to them. You know, I went to my 25-year class reunion. The school bully called me over. Hey, Yeager, I hear about all this crap, how much money you're making and all that. Don't impress me at all. The only thing ever impressed me about you, well, you were the only kid in school that had enough guts to stand up to me. It's very important. Very important. Along the line, you got to learn to stand for yourself, or you're going to fall for anything and anybody. See, if you're going to build this business, you got to be the man who's got the plan, who'll make the stand. Okay? For you gals that are building the business without a guy, you just add W-O to that man. Okay? But you got to be the man that's willing to make the stand. You already got the plan. But if you won't make the stand, being a man with a plan ain't helping. You got to go out there and show it and show it and show it until you find some people that want it. And let me tell you the way this business works. I believe 10 to 20% of the people you show the plan to comprehend the numbers. They see the numbers, that's it. 80 to 90% don't understand the numbers. So if I don't explain a whole lot of things in there, they won't grasp it. That's why I always try to explain to people, when you retire, you normally get a third of what you earn. So most people fail to plan, so what they've really done is plan to fail. Social Security, if you're a job person, Social Security will normally give you 1/3 of what you were making. That's the way it was set up. It was set up so that you're not living on the street, but it was not set up to give you a great lifestyle. You can't put that much in for the whole world to take care of. And if you're making a lot of money, Social Security won't give you 1/3. That's for the average guy with a job, not the executive. Now, for the guy with a job, he's got to be involved with a company that'll give him another 1/3 for retirement. And then he's got to save a 1/3 for himself. Now, when you really understand life, and you understand every 10 years the cost of everything about doubles, that means if right now $100,000 would be in the bank would be enough for you to retire on, 10 years from now you're going to need 200. 20 years from now you're going to need 400. And 30 years you're going to need 800,000. So anytime I walk in a living room and somebody has told me they got enough saved to take care of themselves, I don't hear it. It's better I pretend I didn't hear it than to just flat out tell the guy he's stupid. See, you got to be committed to your beliefs. But yet you can't be insulting to the people you got to deal with. I don't need to insult you. Your stupidity is not my fault. But my stupidity is. Just because you respond to me stupid, I got to respond to you with love. Because this is my area of expertise. My magic now is if I didn't get you on the numbers, then I've got to get you on the logic. So I've got to make enough explanations so that you understand enough about life to get involved. And then just in case that doesn't work, I got to be the most exciting guy you've ever seen in your life so that when I'm showing that plan, you want to be involved with me. And it's very important, if possible, and a lot of times it was impossible for me, but if possible, that I took my wife with me. I always figured on a 1-to-1 first time it was real important if I could get my wife there. With 7 kids, she couldn't always go. So I never blamed her because she couldn't go. Okay? It was my business to go build, with or without Bertie. Didn't make any difference. With or without Bertie, I had to make the livelihood for the family. I wanted her part of this business. But at the same point, I was not going to give her blame for our lack of success at any given time. That's very important. You can't start blaming each other. So I had to be Mr. Excitement in there. And then I had to be Mr. Love in there. Let me tell you, it normally takes 9 months to get somebody, after they signed up in the business, to get really super active. I got to be the love and the glue, giving them the drive to perform during that time. I got to be the love and the glue. I got to make those people, him and her both, feel so good when they're with me about themselves that they want to be with me more. And the way they get with me more is have meetings. I don't want to make them feel bad about themselves after having a meeting. I want them to feel good about themselves. So I'm always going to be there strengthening them, not beating them. You understand that? Long term, this is a business of building relationships. You'll hear people that I have worked with through the years get up on stage and edify me and brag on me and brag on me and brag on me. Do you hear it? You know why they do that? They do it not because I'm the smartest guy in the world. They do that not because I built their business for them. They do it because I helped them build their own self-image. Because I loved them and I believed in them when others didn't. Including some of those others might be themselves, the person they faced in the mirror. Now that's very, very, very important. You know, when I signed up in this business, immediately I said, John Zullo can do this. God, he could be the best, biggest thing out there. He's got that magic personality that draws everybody to him. But you know, John didn't think he did. And then several people that talked to John about the business, they didn't think he had it either. But I knew what John had. And you saw part of what I knew today. Okay? I don't know if John told you how many times he hit 1,500 and some other multi-level came in and wiped out his group before he ever got $7,500. But you know, it wasn't important. The important thing to John was that I was there as his old buddy to see him every month. And he was willing to do what it took to get me back because he felt good when I was there. And you know, you want to make sure you make people feel good when you're there. These are like your kids that you love, not your kids that you criticize, not the ones that you want to beat on. This is not whip 'em day, this is love 'em day. This is not get mad at them, but to understand them and try to love them. Not everybody's going to see what you and I see. I'm looking for 20 people that are as hungry as me, and I've never found one as hungry as me. Now, I've found people that were committed and wanted to build it. But this business will give you a better self-image once you understand than anything else ever could. See, in the early days when you go out and you get rejection, that goes like, what's wrong with what I'm doing? What's wrong with me? Then you got to stop and think, wait a minute, why'd they reject this? Because they didn't understand it. But I showed it to them. Well, they're lousy at math. I always laugh. I was telling Scott last night that Bertie and I are direct opposites. I'm the one that figures out the answers, but a lot of times Bertie is the one that's always got a why. Why this? Why that? Why something else? Why? And when she's got the questions, then I have to come up with answers. And along the line, in the business, you have a lot of people that have a lot of questions. But along the line, the key is to come up with your answers as to why this and why that and why something else. And then you'll have the logic of why you build the business. First off, why doesn't everybody make it? Well, why does 50% of the marriages fall apart in the first 5 years? Because you haven't got two people together that are willing to make a total commitment. Why do a lot of things happen? Okay? 9 out of 10 times the reason failure happens is because commitment wasn't there. It's real simple. I don't have the answers for those people that I didn't sponsor and I didn't work with. I can't tell you why Joe Blow got in and got out. Somebody asked me the question before I came up on stage, how do you break a direct in 90 days? And I said, real simple, I never try to break a direct. I want them to make money. You got to think about that one a little bit. But the way to break him in 90 days would be to have him try to be everything his group wants him to be financially, everything his wife and kids wants him to be without listening to the financial counseling of his upline. Is that a little heavy for you? In other words, too many people can break themselves financially in 90 days. Most people are within 30 days of bankruptcy. People ask me, how do you break a direct in 90 days? Let me tell you, first off, most people don't break in 90 days. Number one. I get off the comedy part and get on to the other part. Okay? Directs don't normally break in 90 days. I went direct in 60 days. But most of my people that I sponsor take 9 months to 2 years. I've never been able to duplicate myself. You know why? I stopped and thought about it and thought about it and thought about it. In the early days, I didn't know how to mold them, so I didn't know how to hold them. We went direct in 60 days. We had 16 legs we paid bonus checks to. Second month. Okay? We went over with $7,630 worth of volume. We kept a bonus check of $1,515.32. That's what we netted. Now that was 28 years ago. That was big money back then. That was big bucks. I didn't know anything about politics till I got at Amway. But then, you know how you learn about politics? You draw the circles and you draw the circles and you show the plan and you show it to a dozen people on welfare who show it to another 100 people on welfare, and none of them want to give up the welfare checks. And right then and there you know welfare is wrong. Because people feel so secure doing nothing that they're willing to take a gamble. You get very opinionated drawing circles because you see the real facts of life the way they are. I try to teach my kids and my friends' kids and young employees that'll work for us. Get your head screwed on straight. Most people don't have their head screwed on straight. All you have to do is listen to their statements. How many times you hear people say, I got my 40 hours in? That's job mentality. Until you change from job mentality to entrepreneur mentality, you're not going to have it together. I'll give you an example. How many people come out to you and they say, well, how long you been in? Well, I've been in 90 days. How much you making? That's job mentality. That's not business mentality. Business mentality, people that own businesses are not worried about how much you make. They're more concerned, can you handle the downside? Is it going okay? In other words, any business that you start, the first 5 years is normally a constant investment back into your business. Most businesses, 95% of most businesses of any kind that you can possibly come up with, within the first 5 years, they're down the tube. So does it matter how many people get in Amway and get out? It doesn't matter unless they're in your group.
While the techniques and approaches suggested have worked for others, no one can guarantee that these techniques and approaches will work for you. We hope, however, that the ideas presented here will assist you in developing a strong and profitable business. This is a copyrighted program of Internet Services Corporation. Unauthorized reproduction of this tape is prohibited. Purchase of this tape is optional.